Ready Check Radio. Hello, Internet, and welcome to the Relic Grind, Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast here on Ready Check Radio. Woo woo! It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time to go live. Twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio. Awesome to see you all here hanging out in chat. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on Audible, Spotify, whatever you're listening on, thank you so much. Give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications, all of that fun stuff. And if you need to know where the socials are, hit up the website, ReadyCheckRadio.com. All the socials right there, so you'll easily be able to follow. So we've got 14 news, a little bit. We've got some Square Enix news, some good and some not so good, and we're going to go over all of it. And then, of course, yes, we have chairs. We have chairs. Joining me to go over all of it, Mr. Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. What's up, sir?
Greetings, programs. You can dye the chair. It doesn't have to be just pink and white. It can be white and whatever.
Yeah, but
it's a chair.
I think it's always white, though, right? Like
it's always white. Yeah.
The dyeable part is just the padding area.
Yeah.
So it's not really dyeable. It's somewhat dyeable. And we'll ask our resident Lala how he feels. Adam Lane, a.k.a. Kronos. What's up, sir?
Man, I saw the initial notes, and I was like, thank God, we're not talking about the chair. And then,
yeah, so funny story about that.
Yeah.
I did not have it in the initial notes. I was like, no, don't want to do this. And when the initial notes went out, I immediately get a ping from Tark. Says, we're not going to talk about the chair. And I was like, dude, I've seen the chair over the last 5 days or whatever. I'm just not interested. I don't care. And he was like, well, Pyro did his thing, and then, Xeno and Asmon.
It was kind of a big deal for a little while.
I was like, yeah, but I fine. I still fine. If you want to bring it up, you can. It's fine. And so I just put a little addendum there. It was like, okay, chair. If you have something, all it says was literally all it said was, fine, chair shit. Let's go. And then Tark went ahead and just put a bunch of links in there.
I put the timetable down for.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't watch some of it before this, but
yeah, I didn't watch Asmon's thing because at that point I'm watching somebody react to a react of something, and I'm like,
reactception,
I'm
right?
done. I'm not a huge fan of YouTube reaction stuff, and I know it's the current meta, but I can't wait for it to not be the YouTube meta anymore. I don't mind sitting in a live stream where let's say I'm watching Happy and Sly live react to a producer's live letter, let's say, because the three of us aren't going to stream, so I'll just go watch his. That it's kind of that's different to me personally, because we're all just sitting there together watching something and chatting about it in real time, we would if you were all at my house and we were watching it and we were chatting about it. But it's not me, man. I can't put on a YouTube video of somebody reacting to somebody else's YouTube video. I don't care enough. I didn't care about opinion 1, let alone enough to care about opinion 2 on opinion 1. It's just not me. Is that for you guys? Do you like that type of stuff?
It depends on what it's about. If it's a discussion, this is basically just some drama stir up stuff, I think. But
absolutely. I'm speaking in general, not specific to the chair stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll give you an example of one I just watched today, where it's Marvel snaps about to patch the game, and some people were speculating on changes they want to see, and I saw people reacting to other people's changes. So I like to hear people's opinions on how they think a game should change, or if it's something I'm interested in, and I respect their opinion.
Right.
So stuff like that I do enjoy, but watching someone react to some pop culture thing happening, I probably don't care.
Yeah, it's just not me. I'm very maybe I'm a content snob, Tark. There's a very
you are.
There's a very
it's fine. It's fine.
I like the stuff where there's clearly a lot of thought and a lot of like effort. And I'm not meaning to demean that type of content, because I certainly don't feel that way about it either. I don't have the impression that some people have, where it's just like, that's not content, right?
Sure.
That sure, reaction is content, like it or not, it is.
Yep.
And there are people that like that.
Do you like State of the Art podcasts? They talk about stories of RPGs and stuff, and they have a discussion back and forth between a couple individuals.
Right, but that's a different thing, right? Like, I'm
Yeah,
watching
I
a
mean-
podcast, or I'm listening to
Sure.
a podcast at that point. I'm not, I'm not. If somebody did a reaction podcast on somebody else's podcast, then no, I probably wouldn't like that. Like, now we're in podcast section. Yeah, it's just not me. Like, so I like I don't know, like gaming historian, right? That is like high effort, high time content.
I like that
Well
stuff too.
done, well researched, and that's the stuff I gravitate towards when I'm like, hey, I need some white noise on while I'm working today. Let me throw on some of Josh Strife Hayes' stuff.
Yeah,
Just-
usually for me, it's when there's like a discussion happening around a thing that I like.
Yeah.
I like
And
Asmongold personally. Like, I think
I do
think
too.
he's
Yeah.
he's done some dumb stuff over the years, but even he'll
Sure,
admit that he's done
sure.
some dumb
Yeah.
stuff over the years.
Sure.
But I can't sit there and watch Asmongold when that's his content.
I mean,
Yeah,
me either.
that's
Unless
not for me.
unless he's talking about something that I'm like really interested in, which as of late, we just, I mean, like
Right.
when he talked about some Final Fantasy stuff, I was definitely in there watching some stuff. And like
Well-
Zeno has some good ones too. Like when he talks about stuff that pertains to things in the game that I have an opinion on, I like hear it is. Because I do respect his opinion when it comes to
Right.
like raids and stuff. So it just depends.
Yeah, we'll get to the chair and stuff. Anyway, we got kind of sidebar there. Let's talk about some other Final Fantasy XIV, maybe not so good stuff. The general sales went up live this week for FanFest here in the United States. They said they had several thousand tickets. Now, what we presume is what we kind of talked about on this show, right, is that those several thousand would be what's left over from the pre-sale where Tark got a code but didn't buy any tickets for any reason and decided to let him go, or Tark got a code and bought one, not two, which was the cap, and that's how they end up with several thousand left over. It would kind of have felt, we're assuming that they did not reserve a portion for general sale, because that would feel really bad with the lottery on the front end of the things.
Yeah.
That would just feel awful. So we're going to assume that everything's on the up and up on that front, and it's legitimately tickets that weren't sold in pre-sale that got that. Did you, either of you gentlemen, A, try to general sale tickets, or number two, successfully get tickets? Tark, we'll go to you first.
Oh, can we go to him first?
No, we're going to you first.
I have a
We're
story.
going to you
All right.
first.
So, to restate, I did not get a code. I did not let that pass.
Yeah,
by.
nobody on this show did. Yeah.
So we set the time. We had my little group of 4. We reached out to others that were not interested in going to FanFest and kind of recruited them to join our little group to get tickets. So we
Right.
ended up having like 11 or 12 people, most of them not caring. So that it's just more people to hit buttons and stand in queues.
Yeah, get a ticket and sell it to me type deal.
Yeah, exactly. So we had 11, 12. We managed to get 6 tickets, and your boy Tark is going to FanFest.
Oh, well, congrats. Congrats. Did you just
Until
get
he's
one,
done.
or were you able to snag 2, or what's the deal? Like,
Well, our collective got 6, so we were able to get the people that we knew wanted to go.
so
They went. So
how many of knew they wanted to go got asked out because you only got 6? Like, how was that portion settled?
It was kind of prearranged. I mean, there were still quite a few people that, it was kind of priority for our little clique that we had. So, we wanted to take care of, the 4 people that were there. And 2 of them already had tickets. So we had 2 there. And then we started going out to more recent people that we wanted to get tickets for. And if I had myself gotten I didn't even get tickets myself. I had to be, sold one. If I had gotten tickets, I would have actually extended that out to you two gentlemen, but unfortunately, that did not come to pass.
So that's pretty awesome for Tark Kronos. What I would like to ask you is, I was not even remotely made aware of Tark's little group. Hey, let's make this happen. Were you?
No, but I had something similar.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a good friend right there. Not even a heads up on the attempt, let alone.
Yeah, we had like 12-ish people, I think, trying. I had my cell phone and my browser open, so like there was also some doubling up on stuff like that. We were in queue. 2 people got through, but by the time like we were in, it said sold out. So yeah, we were none of us got any. So
yeah, I made the queue, and like I said, I don't even know if I would have gone, because then you start talking about like, and there was the problem with the lottery, right? It's like, oh great, I can go, but nobody I know is going. Like you start running into that, I'm going to be going by myself type deal. And so I'm like, well, worst comes to worst, if I get a ticket and I decide not to use it, like I'll hit up Adam, I'll hit up Tark, whatever, if they didn't get one, and there'll be an outlet for this ticket if I decide not to use it. So I'm going to try.
That's how we felt.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you kept it
I mean,
internal.
if we had won,
nice job.
If we had won a bunch, I probably would have reached out to, but we were trying to get 6 and we got 0. So
yeah, so I was like front and center. I got in queue right away.
Oh, I was in queue an hour early, but I don't think that really mattered. So
no, that didn't matter because it didn't. The way the show click site worked, like it wouldn't put anybody in line.
You were dropped in like at 0, basically.
Everybody got dropped in at 0 in like probably a random order.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, did not manage to get a ticket. So did not manage to. So Tark, have fun. Go ahead.
The only thing that sucks, I was saying, is these are extremely scalpable.
Yeah, they've been scalpable since the codes went out.
Yeah, but like it's even worse than I think we thought. Like you can change the name at any time, and the name is what has to match your ID. That's it.
Yep.
So like Tark, I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna do this, but he has his name on that ticket. He could change that name to like one of our names, and nothing would be. That's it. It's our ticket now.
Yeah, as long as the ID
and then he can change it back to his, and
there.
now it's his ticket again. So it's like, yeah, it's interesting that that's the route they chose to go.
Yeah, even when the codes came out, we saw them start to hit eBay between $500 and $1,000. That was just the codes.
I saw
now
one
keep in mind
the
codes entitled you to 2 potential tickets,
which you have to spend $400 more.
Which you have to spend $400 more to buy.
Yeah.
They weren't selling the tickets; they were smart about it, right? I'm not buying the tickets.
Selling the opportunity.
I'll sell you the code, and if you want to buy 2 tickets, go buy 2 tickets on top of it.
Yeah,
and then the individual tickets are infinitely more scalpable. So. Lots of disappointment. I saw a comment, obviously a lot of people butthurt about the way it went. I'm not particularly thrilled with the way it went either. But c'est la vie, life moves on. The one comment that I saw that I thought maybe I'm going to bring that to the show and see what the guys think, though, is the way it was handled. Set aside the lottery and the general sale queue. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about the limiting to 2 in particular. And then the lottery and stuff compounding that, is that some people were commenting to the effect that it was almost, they felt like Square Enix was looking at this almost as if it was like a concert, right? Like you want to come and see Yoshi P and see the Final Fantasy, not I want to go to a convention with my friends, which is more what this type of event generally would be. And the way they did the lottery and the limiting to 2 really just shut down any potential for, your free company to go and hang out as a free company if that's what you wanted to do. There was like literally 0 chance of things like that happening. Even in groups of 4 and 6, it's been, if you pulled it off, you were incredibly lucky to pull it off and go with 3 or 4 friends. Do you think that was a mindset on how Square Enix views this event and what it actually is, Tark? Or was that just an unfortunate byproduct of a system that is less than ideal on a number of fronts?
I think it's just a matter of the system itself being less than ideal. I just think that they're trying something new. The game has gotten so much bigger, and while they're in a bigger venue and have more tickets available, what is it, like 5 times the amount, 4 times the amount from the previous FanFest that was live?
Yeah, and I mean, the real reality of it, right, is even if you held it in fucking Yankee Stadium, it's going to sell out, and not everybody that wants to go can go. That's just the nature of an event, period.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of they chose to do a different system to maybe take the onus off of, well, I'm trying to click my button, I don't have the best internet, and it just being a lottery. They really like their lotteries. I again lost another house lottery, so I don't even want to talk about that. Anyways, yeah, it's just unfortunate. And maybe they'll try something different for next FanFest, and maybe even more tickets. But the game will probably be even bigger, maybe at that point. So they were never going to make everybody happy, unfortunately.
Kronos, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's hard because if they had let you buy like a bunch, I think the scalping problem would be even worse.
Yes.
So it's tough. I think that maybe what they should have done is if they wanted to do the lottery thing to make it kind of fair, I would have rather just had like more waves of player tickets until maybe we had gone through 2 or 3 and then do general sales. But maybe that's not fair either. I don't know. It's hard. I think people would have been mad about that too. I think maybe the best solution, but it's the most expensive solution for Square, is to maybe have an East and a West Fan Fest. To try to maybe divide up the player base a little bit. I think you'll have people that'll still try to go to both, but at least you'd have 2 chances to go. But again, that's like Square has to do 2 events and book 2 venues. So that's a lot.
And at the end of the day, this is a side event to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is great press. Yes, it is a nice way to get with the community. Yes, it's a nice way to generate hype and buzz and get headlines on gaming websites and stuff like that. But it's not necessary, right? It is not a vital component of running and advertising for Final Fantasy XIV. It does more for an audience you already have than it does attract a new audience. I'm not saying that new players don't come when they see things at FanFest or see headlines from FanFest. They certainly do, but it certainly caters to money you're already making in a great deal of respect. So I don't know. Yeah, I think when you start then you need a whole division to start planning just these things, right? And they just never stop. And BlizzCon sells out. The old EverQuest fanfares, they sold out. Like, this is just the nature of the beast, right? Taylor Swift sells out. Like, there's gonna be people that are disappointed. I'm one of them.
Yeah,
I do agree with you, Kronos, and I know this is something we talked about, all three of us, on a different show. Is that I thought, if you find yourself pulling down 3,000 tickets from your original sale, you need a second lottery. Like, why on earth, if you had that many people in the lottery for players, why are those 3,000 going to, if you ended up with a couple of hundred oddball tickets, fine, just general sale them and be done. But if you had several thousand, I really feel like it should have, okay, we had more that didn't sell than we anticipated. We're going to spin up a second lottery. If you opted into the first and didn't win, you are automatically in the second. Here we go. Like, that is a big number to
yeah, because
it does feel bad as a player seeing thousands go, several thousands, their exact words, go on the general market with so many dedicated players that opted in, just totally assed out now and treated as general public. When that's several thousand tickets is a big number. It's a big number.
Yeah, I think it just the extra step of having to have an account active, I think, does deter a little bit, at least. I mean, yeah, you're still thrown into a lottery system, which doesn't feel quite as good. But I don't think watching a little dude run across the screen very slowly feels that great either. So
no, we'll see. Maybe they'll make changes,
I'm
lessons
sure they
learned
will.
type thing. But honestly, it's like how else would you do it at this point? Like, when you start weighting things to Tark's idea, and when you start weighting it based on time, then I think people start screaming about other unfair aspects. So
Yeah,
I don't think that's a viable route.
They're never gonna make everybody happy, unfortunately.
No. Although, if you have been waiting for Final Fantasy XIV Eorzea Academy mangas, they are finally coming in English.
Cool.
Finally coming in English, which is pretty nifty. Pretty nifty. I gotta actually click this because I think I know that person. The author. So there's a bunch of them. They are coming. They have, Alphino, Alice, like all the scions in a kind of Japanese school setting-ish things. And yeah, I mean, it's been released in Japan a while ago. So if it's not new, but it'll be new as far as an English translation. $14.99 in paperback form, $9.99 in digital form, releasing this September. 192 pages, and you can pre-order it today. Not something I personally have interest in, but you gentlemen, you buyers for this?
No.
No. I'd be interested if they had like an anime, a Final Fantasy XIV anime, but
yeah, remember that like commercial one we saw that was like kind of looked like it might be teasing one in the future?
Yes, I do remember that.
That was a while ago. So there you go. And I guess let's talk about the chair. Tark, go ahead. What the hell do you want to say about the Lala chair?
All right. So first of all, it's not a baby's chair. It's just a small chair.
You wouldn't put a baby.
You wouldn't put a baby in that chair.
Okay, hold on. It's not a small chair, right? A small chair would be a chair that is just smaller. And that's what Lala's wanted.
That's what they should have done.
That's what Kronos. I'm not a Lala, so you'll have to advise me if I'm wrong here, but that's what Lala's wanted, was just some smaller furniture that fit their body type. Right? Like this wasn't hard what they were looking for.
I really don't care. But like, I mean, sure. I know some people, like, when they saw the Shadowbringer stuff, like the Tomra stuff, they wanted some stuff like that. I get it. That's fine. They should probably put some stuff in the game. But I think they were trying to make something that was usable, even if you weren't a Lalafell, even though it was like kind of made for a Lalafell. I think that was the idea they were going for. But
yeah, and it is kind of weird. Like, I've never stopped to think about it, right? But we walk around the world of Eorzea, and there is literally nothing Lala-sized. Like, there's this race of Lalas in the world, and nothing that was clearly made by them. Like, like a Lala isn't making jumbo chairs for their house. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I don't care enough about furnishings for my own character, let alone Lala's, but yeah, sure. If you want a small chair, Square, give them a small chair. And instead, yeah, come on, Tark. They did kind of give him a high chair without the tray. They totally did give him a high chair without the tray.
Or armrests.
Yeah, I mean,
like even the back of it, like that would still be like the lower back. Like the Lalas aren't like leaning back in that. It's so weird. And the way they actually sit on it, they still leaning forward. So like,
yeah, they lean forward in the animation.
It's kind of baffles me. It just,
and it's not even really dyeable. Like it's an ugly white with like a pink padding, but you can dye the padding, but that's it. Like, I looked at this not caring at all and going, wow, they kind of got screwed. Like, that is not what I'm not a Lala guy, and I know that's not what they were asking for. Yeah. I know that's not what Lalas were asking for. Okay. So there, Square Enix makes a dumb chair. It's not what players wanted. So some players went to the forums, right? I'm sure, Tark, right? And they said, hey, what the hell is this? We didn't want a high chair. We didn't want a Lalafell lifter. We just wanted a small fucking chair. Could we just have a small chair, please? That's it. And maybe, yeah, sure. Maybe it looks goofy if other races sit on it because it's a small chair and not a big chair. But it's not made for them. Okay, fine. Yeah. Whatever. Give them a chair. And I'm sure it ended there with some people going to the forums saying, Square, please hear us. This isn't what we wanted. Could you maybe reconsider naming this one, first off, and maybe give us a little chair or a little furnishing, right? And I'm sure that Square said, we'll take it under consideration. And then that was the end of it, right? Like, how much drama could this possibly have caused, Tark?
There's a little bit more into it.
There's not a little more.
The things that caught onto it have nothing to do with each chair. I'll say that. I'll let Tark go though.
No, I know. I was facetiously teeing up where we were going to go, Kronos. Come on.
Look, I didn't know if you saw these things. I don't know.
You know, the internet and forums have a way of devolving from the original issues that have been brought up. So it started off just, can we just get some appropriate sized chairs?
Yeah, people pissed about a chair.
Why are they doing this to the Lalafels? Haven't we been harassed enough? And then the conversation shifted to the harassing of Lalafels and calling them P words because apparently they're like children, and then really going off the rails to just insanity. And then people started reacting to it like Xeno, and then other content creators had reacception talking about racism, and everything just exploded into a fire and fury, and it was just absolutely ridiculous, but it was fun to watch. Not gonna lie.
This is why React content works. This is it right here.
Yeah, I mean, Xeno in his video did say that. He was like, why am I doing this? Views.
Yeah, to get views. Yeah, he's
You're
honest.
here to watch.
Xeno is very honest. I'll get I respect his honesty.
What a mess. Like, do Lalas get harassed? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not like walking in Lala circles. I'm not a role player in MMOs in general. So even if my race was getting harassed in role playing circumstances, I wouldn't know it because I'm not in those circles. I play and then I'm done. But like, is that a thing? Like calling somebody, the accusations there, that just seems absurd to me.
It definitely
because
happens.
you rolled a tiny character. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, I play them because they're the small character. I just do that in pretty much most games I play.
I don't know if anybody knows. Yeah, Adam is not a very tall guy.
So I mean, yeah, they have baby faces. They do look kind of like kids. I'm not gonna lie. It's fine. Anybody that would call me a pedo in game though, I'm just gonna block them and move on with my life.
Yeah, and that was the point Xeno was trying to make. Just block them, report them, move on.
Yeah, like it sucks, but the internet. I know this maybe be like slightly dismissive, I guess, but it's the internet, man. Like I can't control what everybody does. The more I try to think about controlling what everybody does, the more miserable that's gonna make me. So I'd rather just get them the fuck out of there and move on with my life because I'm playing a video game. And I'm just trying to have fun. But it does happen, and it's sad that it happens, and those people suck. But, like, I don't think it has anything to do with what the initial thing was talking about.
Yeah, I kind of, got sidetracked really quickly. Yeah. And Pyro is doing his usual Pyro stuff.
Yeah.
Being angry and yelling and stuff. I don't think I've ever watched, like, a full Pyro stream or anything like that. Again, it's just nothing against him. I don't know him personally in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Just not my flavor of content.
Yeah, I think it got blown out of proportion, but I mean, that's just how these things go. And then, a lot of eyes on it. But
Not only did get like the whole forum discussion go sideways, as it's wont to do on forums and on the internet, but like even Pyro admitted he only watched like
that was the funniest part.
60% of Xeno's video.
He got upset.
They both had like the basic same viewpoint.
They had the exact same view.
That was the weird thing to me. It was like, and I think Xeno made that point in his video. Where he was just like,
I agree with you.
We agree. The only thing that like Xeno was giving Pyro a real hard time about was
the racism.
What the comparison? The comparison was racism in game versus racism outside in real life.
And
Pyro had made a point that those were the same things, and Xeno took umbrage with that point.
Yeah,
on all other fronts, the harassment of people in game, the harassment of people in life, the stupid chair itself, like from what I could gather, they both fucking agreed.
They did. And then they got to name calling, and then it just evolved. So I mean.
And then Asmon went and watched, right?
Yeah, and I think Asmon basically said the same stuff we're pretty much saying. So it's
wild, man.
Yeah.
A chair.
And it all started with a chair.
A chair. A really ugly chair. Like,
Really
even
ugly
if it
chair.
wasn't tied to being Lala, it's an ugly ass.
I mean, it was for about 3 or 4 days. I think the chair was all people were probably seeing as far as content was concerned in this game, which tells you everything you need to know about where we are at the patch cycle.
That's
about
what I liked about
6.35. Yeah.
That's what I liked about Asmon's take, is like, they need to put out a new raid or some other stuff. I'm like, they actually already did. This is what happens when we have a content drought.
All right, let's slide over to some other. I mean, let us know how you feel about the chair in the comments below. Whatever. Some other Square Enix stuff. Dragon Quest XII, gentlemen. We don't have news, but I didn't know if either of you had seen this, so I tossed it into the notes because I do think it kind of goes along with the topic we've been discussing recently with the whole turn-based battles. And we kind of knew that, it seemed like Dragon Quest XII for a while was going to carry that banner, right? If Final Fantasy was going to get away from that, Dragon Quest might fill that gap. And then we saw initial kind of faux descriptions from the team about Dragon Quest XII and the way they kept referring to it as an action-y combat and like odd adjectives here and there. We were like, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to go a little bit different. We kind of have confirmation of that, but we don't know which way this falls. We just don't know. There's job listings for more employees to come and work on Dragon Quest XII, but then also Yuji Horii, the series creator, and he kind of teased series creator and Yuji Horii, both people, teased a revamped battle system. And they have a fully functioning prototype already now. This is the way that they described it, okay? We'll revamp the command battle system. It's still a secret how it will be revamped, but we've already completed a prototype, and while working with the staff, I'm convinced that this could definitely be interesting. We are convinced it will be a lot of fun. The story is finished, and all we have to do now is implement it, but it's a big game, so it'll take some time to complete it. But if you apply for the new development position on their staff, you'll be the first to see the new Dragon Quest, or rather, you'll be able to create it with us. So revamped, definitely interesting. Command battles of the past will be completely redesigned. How we will do it is still a secret. What do you think, Tark? Does this interest you, or does this kind of make you go, well, crap, nothing's turn-based anymore?
I'm a little sad because I was hoping that this would be where I get my turn-based RPG fix. That and Octopath seem to be the go-tos right now. They kind of wanted to do something like this with Dragon Quest XI because you had two different modes. It was still all turn-based, but you could move your character around, and I thought there was going to be implementations to that, like, if I move my character around to the backside, I can up my crit chance or whatnot. It was all just fluff, so I just switched it to pure turn-based. The whole movement thing was just for show. So I'm wondering if they are taking that and actually going to iterate on that, or if they're just something completely different. But yeah, I'm a little sad because I wanted some turn-based, AAA goodness for my RPGs, and I was hoping that Dragon Quest was going to be it, since Final Fantasy is going the way of the dodo, as we've talked about ad nauseum.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, it's kind of hard not to look at that and go, they don't say, hey, we're not doing command-based, but they're saying we've totally revamped command-based. So they still keep like that command-based word in there, so that implies maybe it could just be an iteration on turn-based combat. But obviously you don't need menus in turn-based combat to issue commands, so they kind of leave it nebulous.
Yeah. I said on here before, I don't really play all the Dragon Quest games. They're not like my thing. But like I wish there was still more of like a place for turn-based stuff to exist. I feel like the vibe I got from this is like we're going in the Final Fantasy VII remake direction. but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll need to see more.
Kind of
but
like
it feels,
that hybrid almost.
yeah,
I like
where
that
it's like,
hybrid.
where I do like the hybrid too. But it's definitely not turn based, but I do like the hybrid. But it's like you have like your menus, but you're still hitting buttons and doing things as like an action RPG, but you have like a menu to do certain things and maybe a gauge that fills up as time passes, etc. Pretty much similar to how 7 Remake works. That's the vibe I got from like reading this letter. But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, Drew Swanson over at Game Rant wrote a piece, an editorial piece, if you want to go check it out, called "Why the Silence Around Dragon Quest XII is Especially Concerning," and kind of puts forth the idea that, hey, Square isn't doing that well right now, obviously. Again, we've discussed that. Set aside Final Fantasy VII Remake, set aside Final Fantasy XIV, and you have a slate of release after release after release, arguably too many releases in such a short time frame as far as consumers being able to actually purchase them all in the era of a recession, and them generally, for the most part, not being all that well received, with a few exceptions here and there. They've got the 35th anniversary. What's going on with Dragon Quest? Could talking more about Dragon Quest XII be the boost that Square Enix could clearly use right now? And while I don't maybe disagree with that portion, right? Are you a little concerned that you haven't heard more from Dragon Quest XII? Yes, I am actually, because it's been quite some time since we've known about Dragon Quest XII officially, and if you count rumors, we've known about it even longer. But officially, it's been a while. And this really, just this statement about combat is basically the first thing we've seen since the logo reveal way back when. Where I maybe disagree with Drew and see where you land on this, Tark, is I don't know if talking about it right now is the best thing. Yes, I could see it definitely as a boost or something to Square, but they are in Final Fantasy XVI mode hard right now, and they need to be. That is their next big marquee release, and it's only a few months away. But it would be nice to hear some Dragon Quest XII news, and maybe that could help with a bit of a rocky situation right now. Or do you run the risk of Dragon Quest XII news getting drowned out by 16 news, which you have to be releasing right now? You're headed into release.
No, I agree with you. I think the noise is too much around 16. And then we're going to have noise around the expansion. Not to mention Rebirth is next winter. And I just don't think they're in a place to really show anything off. Like, I don't understand.
I mean, they just said they have a prototype of the battle system. That's
yeah.
pretty core. Like,
that's pretty core, but like, how much is really fleshed out as far as like graphics and
well, that's what I mean. Like, it
it's
sounds like it's really, really far behind where I would expect it to be when you're referring to you now having a working prototype of your battle system.
Yeah, which brings me to like, why even announce the game and its logo so far? Like, I hate when companies do that. It's like, hey, this game's coming out, and like, I knew that when we only got a logo, like, this game is 4 years off. Like, I right now I don't care, because there's nothing to show. They're only showing me a logo, and not even showing me like the title. It was just the logo. That we had no title for this game. So I haven't cared. It's been like back in my mind. I know we've talked about it, but like, until I see something from the game, I just don't care about it right now. It's like, I got 16 to worry about. I got 14 expansion. I got Rebirth. That is more than enough on my plate for just Square Enix, and I got other games that I want to play too. So
4 years is generous, I feel like. When you get just the logo treatment, I feel like it's always like forever, man. Because what was it? 7 Remake, we got like the logo, and then just Cloud's back with his hair.
Yeah, we had that reveal trailer. Yeah,
and then we don't even want to talk about. Yeah, we don't even want to talk about Metroid Prime 4. They're still in logo land. So yeah, I feel like just the logo is never a good way to introduce your product. It never ends well, I feel like, or like it ends okay, but it takes a while to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, like, other franchises that could have potentially carried the turn-based system, right? Like, Star Ocean left that ballpark a long time ago, right? A long time ago they got out of that, and it's just like, Octopath Traveler, I guess. That's it.
HD 2D remakes. Let's go.
Yeah, and I mean they're definitely they've said they want to do that, and they definitely can, but that only gets you so far, right? Like you can only remake them one time, and then you're done. We'll say I'm definitely concerned about Dragon Quest XII at this point. I do at least agree with Drew on that front. I don't think right now is the best time to be dropping news because you're just going to bury your own news, which arguably is one of Square's problems right now too, right? Like it was, should we be talking about Forspoken, Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy XIV's next patch, like Octopath Traveler and Theatrhythm, like they crammed so many releases over the last 8 months, and so many of them were mediocre at best. Mediocre at best. You cram your own schedule. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have $800 to give you, Square. You know, it's like I'm gonna pick the two that I want, and that's it as the general consumer.
I had $1,500 for the collector's edition of 16, right? So I mean that was
well that was I think $2,250 though. So you still owe a little bit on that collector's set. It's not fully paid off yet. You got to go back into PayPal.
At this point, I'm gonna resell this thing and.
You should you should probably just remortgage the house and just get it over with. Hey, there was an interesting article over on IGN talking with Hironobu Sakaguchi and Koji Igarashi. And I know those, right, they come from two wildly different backgrounds, right? Final Fantasy creator and Castlevania creator and action games versus RPGs and all that good stuff. But I thought it was a really great conversation. It was actually during a panel at the Monaco Anime Game International Conference, Magic. You'd think that conference would be about something else. About kind of like the Japanese game industry and how like it ramped up and then kind of had a hard time for a while and now is coming back in a strong way with RPGs and other great products coming out of Japan. And they kind of talked about their inspiration, which we don't really want to get into here. I just want to get to one like little crux of the argument here. And the point that they were making is that whether or not the individual creators are inspired by Western games or not doesn't matter for what I want to talk about here. They do go into that. Hint, one of them is not inspired by Western titles. But they do kind of talk about, look, at the time, back in the day, people in the West saw pixel art, three-head characters as something for children. And so while RPGs are blowing up in Japan, they weren't really received that way in the West. And that's why Final Fantasy VII had a lot of focus on cutscenes and action sequences and things like that to kind of draw in a Western audience. But then they say more on the tech side of things. If you look at the consoles back in those days, not only were they made by Japanese companies, which predominantly, besides Xbox, they still are made by Japanese companies, but they were also made more for the Japanese audience, and those companies had access to each other. So Square had access to Nintendo and Sony, and documentation was in Japanese, and they could reach out to people far easier than developers here in the West could. And so that leads to the Japanese games being a higher quality because they have more tools at their disposal. And they say that kind of stopped around the PlayStation 3 era when Sony starts to become a little more global, moves marketing here to the West because that's the audience that they're after. They're kind of more looking for that movie expose, big splash game. And now the documentation is starting to come out in English. The readily available contact points aren't there. And so you start to see a decline in Japanese games. That then they both argue, now you're seeing the other side of that, where, okay, we've now adapted to this new standard set back in the PS3 era. And that's why you're seeing a resurgence of very high quality Japanese products. I don't know, like, who am I to tell them, Tark, like, hey, I think there's more to it than that. They're there, right? They're on the ground. They're Japanese developers who lived through all these segments of it. Maybe that is a huge reason for this stuff or for this cycle.
Maybe I just find all of this kind of stuff. I don't really have an opinion on it. I just find it absolutely fascinating to hear from the developers about situations and the history of the gaming, because I just play the games. I didn't really like dive into how they've made them. I also found this kind of interesting when Yoshi P was talking about JRPGs being like a
not
completely
liking
blown
that
away.
term. Yeah.
So I find all of this absolutely fascinating, and it's good to get some perspective from their point of view. Like I know there's like a video game museum out there. I wish there was more documentation about like the histories and the background stuff. Documentaries about how things are done, and the history of timelines of certain companies would be fascinating to watch.
I thought it was a great read, Adam. I thought it was a really interesting article.
There's some cool documentaries on Netflix, just to plug those, that do kind of something similar to what you're looking for. I'm trying to remember the names, but I don't off the top of my head.
High Score is a pretty good one.
Yeah, they're mostly like American companies though, so you don't really get the
like the
although
I think the no clip from Final Fantasy XIV, most of no clip stuff is awesome.
Yeah. I think Sega is actually in there because they talk about Sonic for a while, if I remember correctly, and like how they created him and how he compared, like what they wanted to do different from Mario, et cetera, et cetera. So it's actually a pretty interesting watch.
Yeah, that's all documented in Console Wars, which is a fantastic book. It's kind of a novelization of the Nintendo Sega stuff. We've gathered all the sources, we've got all the paperwork, we've interviewed all the people, and they kind of just novelize the timeline of Sega versus Nintendo. If you've never read it, it's actually a very, very good read.
I thought the article, this in particular, was actually really interesting. I never thought about it from this way, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Because, like the documentation, the proprietary stuff was in Japan. I never really thought about like how anybody making a game in America, any American company would probably, you're going to get your documentation in like either crappy English probably. Because back then, it was a lot harder to get that stuff. Or you better learn Japanese.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. I never thought about it. I would say though, like they look at the PS3 era. I think midway through PS2 was probably when the shift started to happen. Honestly,
but that makes sense though, right? Because on the back end, they would have been dealing with PS3 dev kits at that point.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense for sure. Yeah, because I think that's when like American studios started to kind of find their footing. And you could say that the Japanese stuff declined. I was still playing it.
Well, their whole point, their one big point was, when they got to that point, consoles were very specific.
Yeah.
And now they were more like programming for a PC.
Right.
Which the Japanese console audience or console developers had very little experience doing, and the West had basically had to do it just to even get things on the NES and the SNES and things like that. So they had an advantage when things click over into the PS3 era, not just in this translation and guides and stuff, but just in general practices. Now the consoles are like programming for a computer, and the Japanese devs, in their opinions, had to catch up at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought it was super interesting, though. Although we need a new Castlevania game, please. Yeah, let's do that.
Did you see that Konami has said that they were very interested and delighted by the reception that the Castlevania DLC is getting in Dead Cells?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, they'll probably make another pachinko machine. Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Yep. That's what Torchwick said when I told him too.
Yeah. He knows.
A symbiogenesis isn't going anywhere, gang. It's not going anywhere.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, so Square Enix has released info saying that there will be 10,000 characters in its NFT game. Remember, this is the one that we thought could be related to Parasite Eve, like most of the internet, and then quickly got that hope dashed. Here's a little teaser movie that they have shown on it. I am showing it in full here. By the time I finish the next 3 sentences, it will be over. So you won't have missed much. Don't blink. But they do that. That's it. They show this and they say, hey, there's going to be 10,000 characters. It's going to be launched tomorrow on the 17th. The official website will launch tomorrow. And then we'll have like episodic play. And yeah, you could totally play through that without buying any of the NFTs. But yeah, this is where we're at. The best thing I saw about this was Kotaku's headline for it.
I laughed when you showed me this.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people noticed this, but if you look at the URL, it's symbiogenesis, Square Enix, NFT game, RPG, crypto sucks. Okay. The headline on the article, if you're looking at the article proper, is Square Enix is still making that NFT game in 2023. However,
That's not what Google says.
Google still has what I assume was the original headline.
Yeah, probably.
Did not go through editor.
Symbiogenesis, Square Enix's NFT game looks like complete shit. I checked just before the show, by the way. This has still not been updated in Google cache files. It's probably going to stay there. Yeah, the metadata's got to be updated from, I would assume, from Kotaku's side at this point, because if they had updated the metadata, this likely would have been gone by the time we got to the show today.
Yep.
But yeah, so you could tell from the URL that this had to have been the original headline, and the editor just said, I don't want the word shit in the URL, so I'm going to say sucks at the end of the headline in the URL. But then the headline itself totally got redone. Ironically, I think they hit a home run the first time out, and then changed it to a double.
I appreciate blunt honesty, and Kotaku at this point, they're not pulling any punches on this thing. It's gross. This whole thing is gross.
You probably won't be surprised to hear that exclusivity deals from Square Enix will continue with PlayStation. And while they didn't directly confirm that in an exact sentence, the question from their finally English translated earnings report was, what is your platform strategy for your forthcoming new titles? And the answer was, we intend to maintain the multi-platform strategy that we have adopted to date. Now, keep in mind, to date implies everything we've done in the past up to today. And if you think about that, it says multi-console, but if you think about what they've done to date, or multi-platform, it's always been an exclusivity deal for a period of time, and then it comes out in some other places. And God help you if you're on an Xbox waiting for a Square Enix title anytime soon, period, regardless of exclusivity deals. So expect that to continue. I don't think that's really surprising, right?
These two companies just need to get together and just freaking merge at this point. Let's just go. Let's do it.
It was more surprising when Crisis Core released on everything.
Yeah. I was shocked about that. Yeah. Happy for it to happen. I think they should be on all the platforms, but yeah.
Remember, we will be seeing Square Enix at PAX East. That starts Thursday of next week. We will not have Gaming Gumbo this Saturday, but we will be back Thursday for Relic Grind. It'll be the first day of PAX, so Square Enix is going to be there not just in the 14 and 16 Final Fantasy panels, but in other capacities as well, showing off other stuff. I don't know how much we'll have that afternoon, but of course, anything that they do show off, we will bring. And lastly, before we go to Love It or Leave It, gentlemen, as if we didn't know it already, Square Enix has finally come out and said that, yep, Forspoken sales were lackluster and plagued by discourse and negative sentiment following its earliest trailers.
The demo didn't help either. But not a surprise. Not shocking. Not shocking.
What does may upset investors a little bit is that they said, where is it? That said, its sales have been lackluster, and while the performance of new titles with February and March release dates will be the ultimate determinant, we see considerable downside risk to our fiscal 2023 quarter 3 earnings. What comes out in March and April? Or, I'm sorry, February and March.
Octopath came out.
Yeah, that'll do well.
Theatrhythm.
I want to say that'll do well, but it is very niche.
It's probably niche, yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
It's very, very well done. Yeah, it's very, very well done, but it's super niche.
Power Wash Simulator DLC. There you go. That's a seller.
So, yeah, I think they're right to say our finances for this quarter are likely going to be down.
They're really banking on 16 and Remake 2, Part 2, Rebirth.
Mm-hmm. They have to be.
Yeah, I think those will disappoint them, but after that, I mean, you got the expansion, and then I think after that, it's probably going to be something like we're dealing with now. So
we'll see. Let's head over to Love It or Leave It. I feel like lately, gentlemen, with Square Enix, we say we'll see a lot. Like,
I'm just trying to be nice.
See.
All right.
Yeah, right. Love It or Leave It is the way we end every episode of the Relic Grind here. It's where I give you something Square Enix related. You tell me love it, want more of it, leave it, get rid of it right away. And I was gonna softball this one, and in the show notes it still does have the softball symbiogenesis video. But I figured, everybody's just gonna love that, love it right away. Like everybody on this panel is just gonna love that, right? No. So I'm gonna go with Love It or Leave It. Silence on Dragon Quest XII. Tark, are you a fan of them being a little quiet right now? And you're okay with it? You understand it? You want them to bake it before you see it, or is this a detriment to them and you got to leave and say, hey, say something? So love or leave their silence.
Okay, I guess I will love the silence. Don't show me anything. Heck, you shouldn't even announced it. Don't show me anything until you have something like concrete and get, somewhere close to a release date. I kind of
I put the guys on the spot too. They didn't know I was going to change this.
No.
So you're getting gut reactions.
Yeah, you're getting gut reaction. I kind of approved how 16 was handled. They didn't really show us until they were close to being done, but even that took like 2 years to really flesh out and show us anything of real substance. So, yeah, stop showing us stuff that's like in concept stages. Wait till you get closer. So yes, I love that they're being silent about it. There's no need to release information that's half baked. We'll wait till we get closer.
Kronos?
This is a weird one because I was gonna say leave it, but I kind of agree with what everything Tark's saying. I guess just in a different light. Like I don't think they should have announced it. I think if all you have to show is a logo,
there's no point.
You shouldn't. So I guess the reason I was gonna say leave it is because I feel like they have nothing to show. I don't know why the heck they announced it in the first place. So I don't even know but obviously they have nothing else to say right now. So it's kind of a weird place. So I guess I'll say love it because I wouldn't want to see the game until they actually have something of worth to show, and I don't think they're at that stage yet. But I just don't think they should have announced it to begin with because they obviously weren't going to reach that stage for quite a while. So
I'm going to leave it. They should be talking about it.
Whatever. You just 20 minutes ago you were like, I know 16 it's going to get buried.
Yeah, it would be, but I'm talking about me personally. I want to see it. I want to see.
I mean, that's fair. Like if
pre-alpha stage prototype.
I mean, that's fair.
I could sit here and totally understand why they're not, because it's not there yet. They don't have a lot to show. They don't want to get it tied up in 16 news cycles. I could totally understand why they're doing it, but I can also at the same time say, "Damn it, show me something."
Yeah. I was definitely like that with 7 Remake. I was like, just show me anything, dude. I don't care what it is, man.
Tap it into the veins. Give me a little hit. Here we go.
So, that's going to do it for this episode of The Relic Grind. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Remember, click like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and let us know how you feel about Lalafell chairs in the comments. No Gaming Gumbo this Saturday. However, we will be back just as normal next week, and Relic Grind hasn't missed a beat, so we'll see you next Thursday for that. Until next time, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always. Twitter, not much going on. Just doing raid stuff. Already basically finished all the patch stuff. So, yeah, I'll be there.
Tark.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at Tarkoth Gaming. Being sad about not having my Hall of Fame quarterback, but already mentally prepared that was going to happen.
Yeah, dude, he checked out before last year even started.
Anyways.
You knew he was gone in preseason.
And then back here on Ready Check Radio on Saturday. Hopefully I won't be sick, and we'll get my full Final Fantasy XV fix here this weekend. So
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there, Magic Man 1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO on Twitter, and you'll know every time we go live with a podcast stream, or we're just hanging out, having a good time. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.